And we are live, fourth installment of Singh Army podcast. So we are bringing to you today a bit of an emergency podcast to discuss the hot topic at the moment, COVID-19, coronavirus. How is it affecting us, our families, our places of worship in every capacity? How is it affecting us? Looking at it from a Sikh point of view, looking at it from a Punjabi community point of view, and get into the depths of the issue, and more importantly, finding some resolutions, finding some way that we can survive this, and how is it going to work best. We're a close community, we're a close family, we're all living together with our parents, grandparents. So if anything, we need to be prepared for this. We don't want to be afterwards saying that we could have done this, we could have done that. We want to preempt it, and we want to deal with this before really it gets too far. So without further ado, we've got I guess you could say someone who's in the thick of it, someone who's going to know all about it, and who's going to be dealing with it probably unfortunately more than most people. Today we've got a good friend with us today, Jas Singh. So to Jas Singh and all the Singh Army, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So Jas, tell us a little bit about your profession, what you do, and where you're from.
Yeah, so I work for Harmony Asian Funeral Directors. So the clue's in the title, really. I'm a funeral director. And like you said, we're in the thick of this. And the profession that I'm in, and we're like the leading Asian funeral providers in the UK. So because of that, we've been, I suppose you could say, privileged to be meeting some of the people who are the decision makers, let's say. So we've met with government officials, local authorities, the NHS staff, doctors, and even the people who are actually testing for COVID-19. So the actual people who are performing these tests. So over this last week, I've probably not had this many meetings in my life since I've had in this last week. So, and as you can understand, it is a fast-moving situation. Literally hour by hour. I'm not going to say day by day, hour by hour, things are changing. But we're in the thick of it. We're speaking to the government, trying to stay on top of it, and putting in staged plans how we can deal with it.
So it's gone, like you said, it's gone serious quick. I mean, before people weren't taking it too serious, it's a bit of a laugh, and now there's all sorts of media with the army coming in, with all the restrictions. So it's been announced now that the schools are closing, so parents are going to be off, and it's basically it's gone from 0 to 100 real quick. And what's the main cause of that? Is it to stop the outbreak, or is it we've got a higher death toll than expected? What's caused the government to act so rapidly, or is this something that they should have done at the start, like what China did and what Italy did?
Well, we have to trust the government in regards to the professionals that are advising them. These guys are way above our pay grade, and we've got to trust the plan that they've put in place. The problem is we're actually not implementing that plan. You go out on the streets, and I'm seeing every day, people are not really taking this seriously. And I was telling you beforehand, there's an Appana who's serious when he said to me, he goes, Paji, he goes, Asanu nahi kos hona. He goes, Punjabi no corona ho sakda. I goes, what do you mean, Paji? He said, मैं दूध में हल्दी पाना हर एक दिन मैंने नहीं हो सकता. And but he was serious. He was serious. So no, we've got to take the advice seriously that they're putting out there, because they're looking at this. They're looking at the statistics, and this is not like a thing. We're right at the beginning of it. We've got to understand all of this panic, etc. We're right at the beginning of it, and this is not just going to go through. We're going to hit a peak. People think we're going to hit a peak and come back down. This is going to go through waves. So it's going to come back through once we've all kind of gone through it once. It's going to come back again, and possibly again after that. It's like an influenza. So it basically meaning it travels really quickly. It can be passed on from person to person very, very quickly. So it's to contain it. That's why they're saying stay at home. That's the only way of trying to keep the numbers low, as I can say.
I mean, and where this plays a big factor for us, what you're saying is stay at home. What a lot of our Siani, probably the elders in our community would have done, they've been told stay at home, you can't go in there 3 months, 2 months, however long it's going to be minimum. But now what India have said is we don't want no UK citizens coming over. So a lot of them would have said, okay, no problem. India jaake top sekde hain, we'll go there, we'll chill there. A lot of us elders do that when they're going to have a chill out. They go to India and they'll chill there. But now that route's closed as well. So what we've got now is we've got an elderly community that are dependent upon us. Now, in regards to community, Gurdwara Paji here, you know what? So the biggest thing at the moment for us is obviously the functions, the Gurdwara functions, the weddings. We're just coming into basically next couple of weeks, we're going to be hitting wedding season, and already people are cancelling, already people are rescheduling. You know, some people I think are going for low numbers because it's not been totally banned yet, any social gatherings, but it's been asked to keep the numbers low and anything that can be prevented. And but the issue that we're getting here is the flights. So there's people, Ristadar, your family coming from Canada or America or wherever. Now flights are an issue, so you can't get your close family over. So, you know, that's a big issue. So what are we doing about, you know, I think some of the guys don't mind it being delayed, but obviously there's going to be a lot of concerned families with the weddings. Satsangs and Khandapant, Tika, they can be rearranged, but weddings, obviously, they're big occasions. So how are we dealing with this?
It's been tough, and it's one of those issues that there's so many other facets to it. Like you said, indirectly, there's a lot of other things that are affected by it. So something you touched on there with the flights, yeah. So with some Buzurg, so especially I know my Nana Nani, they'd be happy with that. They're in Punjab at the minute. They're having trouble actually trying to get a ticket back. I think 2 or 3 times now their flights have been cancelled. Some of the other kids are like panicking, trying to get them on something sooner, get them back ASAP. But I'm explaining to them from everything you've seen about the symptoms and things that kind of stop this from spreading further. They probably are better off in Punjab.
So if we have got any Siani that are in Punjab, you're saying you think they're better off there for now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert in the area at all, but from some of the directives that they've been given, you know, it can't survive in certain heat temperatures. You want to minimize contact, especially for some Gursikhs that go. They're used to that kind of life, you know. Bibeka khana, so they only eat from other Amritadis, eat at home. They're not going to be eating out anywhere. They're not really in any overpopulated urban areas where they're going to be coming to like different restaurants or kind of social arenas, etc. They'll be at home most of the time. So I think that kind of lifestyle suits them. But coming back in terms of how it affects us and our Gurukars, it's quite a major point. And to be fair, I'd actually say,
just taking you back to the question there,
yeah,
should people be cancelling their weddings, Baji? What do you think?
On a personal level, I think cancelling the wedding at this time, yeah, they might need to look into postponing it until, like Baji mentioned, if we're going through this in waves, there might be a point where we do reach where it looks like it's the end of it. Like China looks like at the minute now that they've recovered from that. They're closing down these hospitals that they'd opened specifically to deal with this. So it might be something that's worth just riding out the wave and saving your good times for when everyone's fit and healthy and can attend and join you in your happy occasion and celebrate with you. Whereas at the moment, there has been certain directives I just saw on the news today where Church of England, so they're advising all the churches in UK to limit weddings to only 5 personnel. And then that includes the priests as well, so people that are officially coordinating the wedding.
And in terms of what situation we're dealing with now, Jas, if I just bring you back in here, so what they're saying is all the elderly, over 60s or over 70s, want you to self-isolate. Now, some of these will be living in bigger families and there are people there to look after them, make their food and do everything. But obviously the risk there is these younger family members, they're going about their business, they're coming home, they could bring something home, they don't even know they've got the symptoms, they don't know what's going on. But then if you look at the side where the elderly are by themselves, we've seen the atmosphere in the supermarkets. They can't go out, get their ration pani, they can't make it for themselves, they're dependent upon others, and so they're dependent upon the community to come and help them as well. So we've got two sides of the coin there. How do you think the best way of dealing with that is?
Well, first of all, the youngsters out there, we need to understand the severity of this. If we look at the government figures of how many cases there are, they're actually not accurate live. Reason being, they're the day, probably at least a day behind. And then the active cases, are there the active cases that are in the hospitals, not the actual live case? So but on this table here, we know a couple of people, friends, that have actually think that they've got it, but they can't test. So there's not enough tests to actually say how many people have got it. So if you start multiplying this, in real numbers, you might as well take the figures of like there's 3,000 odd active cases. You can multiply that maybe by 10. of what is actually, and that's just an absolute guess, because the real number we don't know, because we can't test for it quick enough. So we've got to understand how serious this is. As our Asian households, we tend to live with our parents, our grandparents. So as we can't be flippant as youngsters going out there saying, okay, it's not going to affect me. Even if I get it, I'm okay. But what you're doing is you're going out there, you might pick up the bug, it might be dormant in you, and you're coming back, and then you're putting your parents, your grandparents at risk. So you need to have plans within your own households of how you can protect your families the best you can. So whether that's let's be honest here, we as a community, we've done very well. We've come over to the UK, our parents have given us everything, they've worked so hard, and some people have built up portfolios of properties. Now, if you've got a house empty, maybe you need to start thinking of, oh, shall I move my parents? Oh, actually, shall I move into there? Sorry, my parents, let's live at home. Shall I move out? If I want to carry on working, maybe I can go live in one of these rental properties that I've got. So we need to start taking it a little bit more seriously, especially with now schools closing. You got grandparents who are going to be around children. Children could pass it on to their grandparents. So there's lots of complications around in regards to our households. So we need to have, each household needs to have a plan of how they're going to start separating.
So what you're saying is easier for like the middle-aged people to move out rather than people listen to this podcast and then go upstairs and say, Baba, thonu jana pena hai. It's easier for our kind of age people to go out. I mean, if we look at your dynamics, you've got young children in the house, and then you got your dad in the house who is how old?
I don't know. No. He's in his 60s.
Okay, so how are you guys dealing with it?
So thankfully, actually, my dad's over in Punjab, and he can't actually get back across. So okay. And he's loving it out there. He's loving it out there. So thankfully he's out there. My mum, who's at home, like you mentioned, and she's got underlying health issues, etc. So our concern is for her. So at the minute, we've got a cousin that lives close by, who's by herself. So it's actually going to be good company for both of them. So she's going to move in with her, and then that leaves that we're trying to basically cut down that contamination.
So you would say that we are at that stage where we do need to think about moving our Siane about if we can, or moving ourselves about. You do think we're at that stage?
I really do, yeah.
Hanji Paji.
Yeah, just something you mentioned there, Indy, about, let's say if you were to go upstairs and mention that to your Bob, it'd be about them moving out. One thing you probably all noticed, everyone listening as well, is elders don't like change. And what's scary for them over these last couple of weeks, things have changed big time. Like literally, day to day, there's something else. There's another like kind of piece of news that they listen to that they don't fully understand. So they're relying on someone's translation to tell them what that means and the seriousness. You know, they're used to reading this, watching Indian news channels. In those media outlets I just mentioned there, it's not such a big thing as of yet. But what they will be getting is that feeling of panic that's spreading now through the community. And especially as we've all seen now recently, it's starting to take directives that should be in place in Gurudwaras as well. So for an elderly person, let's go through their routine, right? So they get up in the morning, generally quite early. They're not going to be going to work. They're used to seeing their grandkids, taking them to school maybe. Then they're going to the temples, they're going to the Gurdwara. And at the Gurdwara Sahibs, that's where they do all the socialising. They're doing all their prayers. They're getting their food from there, their daily food, their langar, which they're quite dependent on now. And it's unfortunate, like most of us sat here, we do still live with our elders, as many listeners probably do. But there's also a lot more frequent cases where Siani Bazurg, maybe it's Bibiyan or Babbe who are 60 plus, they're actually living on their own now. So they're living in flats, they might be living in homes where everyone else has either left or family members unfortunately passed away. But they're quite isolated as it is. So the only time they're getting to feel a part of a community or even part of a family is when they're coming to the Gurukar. So now with the restrictions on them going to the Gurdwara, they've been told to stay at home, they're quite panicked. So like I said, they're struggling with because they've been dependent on that langar, so their daily food intake. With everyone's seeing now the chaos that's going on in the superstores, the markets, etc. It's hard for them to even get food.
Just to finish off, just to add to that, sorry. So, I mean, I was at the Gurdwara the other day, and there was a meeting regarding the Nagar Kirtan.
Right.
And it got decided based upon information from the government about the numbers for the gatherings and about the our media outlets, so Sikh PA and Sikh Council, their guidelines. So they decided to postpone the Nagar Kirtan, which a lot of Gurukars have. We'll go into that a little bit later. So the meeting's finished. The guy who's around about 40-ish, mid-40s, comes downstairs, and there's a little like kind of area where a lot of the elders sit, and he comes there and he tells everyone the Nagar Kirtan's been postponed. Weren't too happy, but they understood. And then he said to them, he said, oh, you guys, you should be staying at home. This was before it was the self-isolation was imposed, and this is before that. And the guy said, look, when it's written for us to go, we will go. I see partition, we've seen this, we've seen that, we've been through all sorts. And they didn't quite grasp the concept, because in all their life they've never probably had to deal with this, so it's a lot of they don't understand it. And like you said earlier, is trying to get the elders to change their ways is very, very difficult. Let alone your own bibi baba nani nana going to the Gurdwara and telling people, or giving someone advice who's walking down the road, like the Siana go for their walks, and telling them it's a very difficult thing to do.
And to be honest with you there, Andy, what you just mentioned, the reason it's so hard for them to accept or even limit how much they go to the Gurdwara now, those kind of things that you mentioned just there, going through the partition, going through seeing what's happened with their family members, probably through Jarasi 84 as well, everything they've had to deal with in terms of difficulty, discrimination when they've come to this country. Everyone of that generation will probably agree that what's got them through all those hard times, even being isolated, working away from your family, trying to send money back home, it's Guru Sahib, it's Maharaj, just getting darshan of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, reading Bani, keeping faith in part, being part of the Sikh community, going to elder Gur Sikhs, their friends maybe at that age, getting advice from them, doing sangat with them. So that's crucial to them. Anytime there's a state of panic in your household, or somebody might be ill, there might be a death in the family, you'll notice all the Siani in your family tend to have that extra bit of faith that, you know what, it doesn't matter. As long as we keep our belief in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, as a family we increase our part, we increase our simran, we stay together, that we'll get through it. And with this now, they feel like, again, it's something that's of that severity, because the severity levels are getting there with some of those extreme scenarios I mentioned earlier. But in a way, they're kind of being directed away from their source of relief in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just to bring it back round to yourself just now. So current situation is, every day is changing. While we're recording this, current situation is the elderly have been asked to self-isolate. Okay, that's current situation. Obviously, the difficulty is there's no clear direction on how long. So this one thing it does do, the opportunity of seva arises here. Now, seva is a thing that, it's been lost to a certain extent within our community. I can only talk about my own experience here. My grandparents. Now, my grandmother, she lived with me, and she was very ill. She developed cancer before she passed away, but we knew she was ill, and we had an opportunity to look after her. We had an opportunity to do her seva. All those ardasa when she was well and fit and able were all for us. And then when she was ill, we had the opportunity to then look after her. And, after her passing, we felt that, we did our best. With my granddad, he died very suddenly. And I really don't feel as if I did anything for my granddad, and I really missed out. But now there's an opportunity here where, we can really look after your biological grandparents, or elderly people in your family, or people in the community. That opportunity has arose now.
Yeah, that word you just used, opportunity. We've got to turn this into a positive, because this is a massive opportunity. I see death on a daily basis. And one of the things I sit down, I speak to families, and there's a lot of regret. And people get emotional at funerals, and a lot of that is down to regret. Decisions that they've made upset their grandparents, not really speaking to their grandparents enough, not understanding their stories. There's a huge generational gap as well between ourselves and our grandparents. And there tends to be a lot of regret that they've passed away, that they didn't do enough for them. And it's not in a nasty way, but it's too late. Once they're gone, they're gone. So what an opportunity this is. What an opportunity to actually do seva of your grandparents, of your mum and dad. They've given everything. We can all have that. We've all had that similar sort of story. They've come over. They've literally left everything. Nothing in their pockets. Come over. They've built everything for us. They've given us all the platforms, and then we go out and make silly decisions on a daily basis. Now, we've got an opportunity now to serve that generation. This may never happen again. You know, Baji mentioned about their routines and going to the Gurdwara, etc. And they have solace in their faith. That's where they go and find their strength is in their faith. And they will tell you, this is an opportunity for all of us, including myself, to learn about our history. This coronavirus, let's be honest, probably doesn't even make top 10 in Sikhi in regards to, we've been through so much worse. This doesn't even make top 10. And that's where, if they can find faith, they can find strength in that, and it took them so far, I'm sure we as a generation need to connect back to Sikhi to find strength in it.
And, you know, so at the moment is, we got organisations, Midlands Langar Seva Society, Langar Aid, SWAT, Nishkam, SWAT. There's lots of organisations. Forgive me if I've missed anyone, which I've missed loads there. But with any situation, okay, you know, we need to look at ourselves, and we can't sit at home and think, oh, it's okay, they're dealing with it. Okay, it's okay, they're dealing with it. In any situation we have in Sikhi, in our community, we need to try and be proactive. What can I do? What can I do to contribute? What can I do to help? Even if you think it's covered, what can I do? And, you know, there's so much that we can do. So, you know, at this moment in time, a lot of Gurukars, as we do as a community, Langar is a massive pillar of our community. And, you know, we are going out and we are helping, but if it can be done collectively, Kam Singh from Coventry, he's been doing a lot of seva on this. He's been on the channels, and you know he's so big on community action. So all the cities, you know, there's Gurdwara that might have split and made a separate Gurdwara. All sorts have gone on before the Gurdwara in each city can come together, make a list or have a list of who needs support, who needs help, and it's not just Langar. There could be household products, hygiene products. It could be a lot of stuff. And if we can make a collective list and everybody come together, not even if you're part of an organization, you can do this as an individual. You can think, okay, what can I do? What can I get together? We'll get onto funding and sponsorship and everything like that towards the end. But it's a massive opportunity. So that's where we're at the moment. So definitely everybody try and help, try and get stuck in, try and get involved. Why do you just want to finish off on that point?
Yeah, and I think, like Baji mentioned there, Jas, where we're trying to use this opportunity now to see what positive can we do. And those Seva examples and the organisations you mentioned there are a great way to start. And another thing is, if you look for kind of, let's say, the silver lining under this cloud, it would be, I was discussing this with my wife the other day, that, you know what, in day-to-day life, for the last, let's say, how many years, even as Amritari Gursikhs, you'd say, what's stopping you getting up at Amritullah? What's stopping you extending your Nitnem, reading Barnis longer, taking your time, reading it with Biyar? It would be all these other things that could potentially now be taken out of the equation because of this potential lockdown, right? So people aren't going to work, kids aren't going to school, no one to drop off. You know, think about social settings. There's nothing that you're doing probably now at the minute.
Birthdays, parties, everything's
the night
cancelled.
before that's keeping you out too late. Maybe this is Guru Sahib giving us a kind of reset where we can all just take a minute, ground ourselves, appreciate what we have around us, that support structure, and now bring everyone together and join it with Nambani. So if we are able to now, because of that, you haven't got that commitment in the morning, try and relax yourself. Try not to panic, I'd say, first of all. Reset yourself. Have a Shnan, do your Naam Simran, do Vaheguru Mantar, do your Nitnem as much as you can do, as much as you know, listen to it, and involve your families within that as well. And you know, especially with the elders being isolated, remember, that's their routine in the Gurdwara. So maybe it's time now for us to bring the Guru Card routine to our homes and make that the Gurdwara for our Siani.
So moving on from current situation with the self-isolation of the elderly, moving on to potential situations. One of those potential situations is a full lockdown where people, I mean, the word lockdown is such a loose term. It can be from anything from a curfew after 9 o'clock to, you know, you can go to the supermarkets, you can go to kind of essential things, but you can't do anything else. So it's quite a loose term at the moment. The government will probably define it a little bit better if they do go down that route of what they do and don't want us to do. But potentially, if we do go into a lockdown, There's lots to consider there as a community and for our institutions. And we seen it in 2011, I think, during the riots. So there was a murder, or there was a killing. Sorry, there was a killing of a young black male in London, which led to riots up and down the country. And a lot of these were in Punjabi, where there's a high Punjabi population. So Birmingham, London, in up north in Leeds and these kind of places. And we seen it in that situation. Things changed, escalated unbelievably quick. It went literally from 0 to 100 then as well, really, really quick. So we see some little things where potentially it could go down that route. If we're looking at the social media, it's been shown in the news a couple of times what's going on in the supermarkets. Now, a good friend of mine who works in the supermarket, he said, come grab your stuff, don't send your parents, don't send your wife or your sister, because you know what, it is a tense atmosphere here. So these are things that we're gonna have to consider.
Absolutely. The term that we use in lockdown, I don't want people to panic when we use that term. Exactly what you've explained there. That could mean a lot of things. Italy's in lockdown, but that doesn't mean that they can't go out, go to the shops. Supermarkets are still open. They can still buy their groceries, etc. You can't stockpile milk. It runs out of date. So when we say it's lockdown, don't panic. People are going out there panicking, and that creates that tension. And we were around when it happens, and it takes a little spark, and we see with the riots, it takes the smallest spark and it can go out of control. So it's important that we remain calm, even if places are shut down. That literally doesn't mean that everything's closed. You're staying at home, you can't come out of your bedroom. You can still go out, you still buy your groceries, etc. So yeah, everyone needs to remain calm and also vigilant as well. So if we can only control what's in our households. If something happens, now we're talking about Gurdwara, people will get desperate. There'll be certain people in society that use it as an opportunity. What I mean by that is might see robberies, etc. We need to make sure we protect our Gurukar.
Definitely.
We need to make sure we protect our homes, our parents, etc. Again, so be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, be prepared is key. Not just in your household, but also in the Gurukars. For example, we're well known for our free food and our free kitchens. And, every so often you'll get somebody, I'm very blessed to be able to do seva, our local Gurukar, who will come, they'll come in through the doors and they haven't been before, or they're intoxicated, and they'll be demanding the food. Where's the food? Give me the food. And, these kind of things. And when the situation gets worse, okay, I can only imagine that this kind of atmosphere will get worse, and these kind of demands will increase, unfortunately. And because we are that community where we allow everybody and anybody, so we have to be prepared. We've got situations potentially where people could be coming looking for food. We could potentially be hate crime. The media do a very good job of, if anything goes wrong, blame the immigrants, blame those of colour. So potentially it could be hate crime, okay, and potentially, like it was during the riots in 2011, it could be for theft. They could see this opportunity, the public resources, the police and everything are stretched, and they could come for any assets that are in the Gurdwara, including money, because obviously there's donation boxes there. So security, not only in the home, but in the Gurukars, is really, really important during these times. Now, we're very blessed where we are here. We've got a security meeting here in Coventry, so all the Gurukars will be getting together to have obviously there's many aspects of going on in the community, supporting the elderly, like we mentioned. Make sure we don't run out of resources, any resources that we're using. But obviously security is a big thing. Terrorism attack happened in Germany not too long ago, and really that should have been a wake-up call. And there's been one in London, central London mosque, not too long ago. Places of worship are inevitably going to be a target, so once even this virus has passed and everything returns back to some sort of normality, there's still always that risk. So in terms of security in our gurukars, sometimes at our local gurukar, you go during the day, there's one person upstairs on prasad, there's one person in the langar hall, both of them elderly, and literally there's no one else in our gurukar. And we were talking about this before, saying that maybe it's a time for the gurukars to unite. We were told in our ityas, in our history, that shastra weapons, they're important, never to oppress, never to bully, never to for land or for money or for anything like that, but to defend yourself and your loved ones, and to defend humanity, like our Sikh showed us time and time again, okay, is something that is part of our faith, and we cannot deny that. Time and time again in history, we've proved that. Even recently, as the partition, and then 1984, we were told by our leaders, Santji and everyone, that Tiyar Pratyar is the term. We talked about Holla Mohalla, we talked about Tiyar Pratyar in that podcast, and just staying ready in many different ways, making sure the doors are locked, making sure nothing's on show, making sure that the alarms are set, making sure the windows are closed. There's many ways of being tiyar pratyar, and also, without shying away from the main point here, is being ready to defend yourself, defend your family, and defend others. We may get to a point where literally we're all having to go to the gurukar, and we're having to maybe stay there for we don't know how far or how bad this is going to go.
Absolutely. It's important that we look after our gurukar in our cities. So we've set up a great meeting here, like Indy said, in Coventry. Maybe that's something that we can roll across the country, and all the gurukar come together. Because this is going to be a testing time, not just for our households, because let's be honest, people's incomes are going to be hit now. People staying at home, people there's uneasiness in the air, because people of my personal family, their jobs have been cancelled, they're staying at home, they've got no routine, and they don't know what to do. Same with our gurukar. If we're not visiting them, where's the money coming from? Is there a cash flow problem? Gurukar have got loans on their heads, they've built buildings, they've built all these sort of facilities for us, but if we're not going there, how are they getting this money? Where's that cash flow going to happen? So there's going to be a big question mark over the following months, what's going to happen to our gurukar. As churches, Paji said, with churches, they're deciding to start closing them down. Is that going to happen with our gurukar? It can't, can it? It's a question. But again, how is that cash flow going to be filled? How is that void going to be filled? Are we going to step up? Are we going to donate? Are we going to keep them alive? Or just, again, another thought, are we going to come together? Maybe the gurukar that can't afford to keep running, are they going to be closed down and maybe incorporated into other gurukar? Again, there should be meetings across the country, between cities, between all the gurukar, because this is a time to come together. There's no point you standing by yourself as a small gurukar. If everyone comes together and make key decisions, not just for today, but looking in the long term. Is it affordable, etc., running this gurukar? And how does the product that they deliver, how do you get quality? It needs to be questions that we need to start asking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've grew up in a generation where the gurukars were already built. So they're already built, but now we're at a situation where there's different seva that we can do. So it could be, that it's come out in the media that the loans and everything like that, and repayments and mortgages and all these kind of things, they're going to be suspended, but we don't know for how long. We don't really, the government down through to us, we don't really know the severity of this situation. But without a doubt, there will be a time where we will need to now support our gurukars, and that can be through monetary, that can be through dala sabjiya, and that can be through your time, offering, okay, I haven't got anything to give, but what I can give you is my time. I can do, I can help with the seva of handing something out, or even just doing the security from these hours. A lot of people are off now. So these are all opportunities now. Sikhi torte, how can we contribute again to our gurukars through these difficult times, which Baji's gone through quite accurately. We could kind of just skip one bit there, which was earlier on I should have mentioned, which is the Nagar Kirtan. So all the Nagar Kirtans pretty much are cancelled now. I don't know any that are going ahead. And Baji, are these things that we can pick back up in Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Gurpurb, maybe do Nagar Kirtans then? I know there's a lot of people out there who will be like, oh yeah, it's cancelled now, they cost too much money, we shouldn't be doing them anyway, this is an opportunity to close them down. What do you feel on this?
Personally, I'd say ideal scenario would be that we can revive them and bring them back and do them even bigger and better.
So Guru Nanak Dev Ji Gurpurb in November,
when it comes to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj's Gurpurb.
And there's a lot of people there that will say, oh yeah, they've been waiting for this kind of opportunity, because it's hard to run a Nagar Kirtan. You're closing the city down, or a big part of the city, for a whole day, and you got anything between 3 to 20,000 people attending that Nagar Kirtan, depending where you're from. So logistically it's very, very difficult. So there's going to be people saying it's a lot of hassle, it's not needed, people can travel to their local gurukars. The Nagar Kirtan is really outdated thing. So what the committees, what options have they got? Me personally, I would be, a lot of my memories of being younger, I wasn't necessarily that much into my Sikhi or my spirituality, but the Nagar Kirtan, it was essentially at the start, when I was uneducated on Sikhi, it was a good day out and a lot of fun memories, and then things develop from there, and you get more, you learn more about your history and your faith and your Sikhi, and then so Nagar Kirtan, it brings a lot of different things to the community.
It definitely does, and that viewpoint that you just expressed there, I think that'll be the viewpoint of a very select few people who probably don't go to the Gurdwara much anyways, or probably haven't been to the Nagar Kirtan. From what I see of it, in no matter which city, as hard as you just mentioned it can be logistically, every single generation of ours that have been in this country, they've made it happen. So they've all come together, they've improved their community work, their sharing of responsibilities between each other. Everyone delegates tasks and it gets done. Everyone takes part in the seva, from little kids to old Siania, Bibia and Babbe, all the middle generation as well. Everyone's involved in it, and it brings everyone together. And it's time to celebrate and commemorate as well, and a chance to do seva of the Sangat. So we always give us langar as well to everyone who comes. It's a nice dubious atmosphere.
So yeah, definitely let's not neglect it. I mean, it's something that I'm kind of passionate about, is the Nagar Kirtan. So let's not neglect it. Let's everyone make a conscious effort, all the gurukars, all the committees, that we want to revive this. Obviously, once it passes, we want to get it back up and running, and we want to make it back into a big thing. So we're coming towards the end of the podcast today. Sikh Council have given some guidelines, some advice. And we've got an aspect now. So what the government is saying, you should wash your hands and sing happy birthday, and they made a bit of a thing of it, saying this is how you should do it. But Suchum is the thing that's been big for us in Sikhi for a long time. People will have that experience of when Singhs or Amritaris come around your house, or someone in your family, their food gets prepared separately. Their food is in a separate bowl, they eat first, and all these kind of things to keep the Suchum. And all of this from 550 years ago is just to stop cross-contamination and to keep hygiene. So it's something that we've always been big on. And, a lot of Amritaris, they will always wash their hands, constantly wash their hands. And some people, make a joke of that. And some people, they laugh it down. They say they're washing this, they're washing their hands, they're washing the taps, they're doing it all the time. But it all just comes down to hygiene. So it's hygiene has been something that we've been, accustomed to for a very long time.
Definitely. And not to make light of the situation, but I bet there's many people around the world who wish they were Bibiki, and into their Suchum as much as some of the other Jatiman.
If you don't know what Bibiki is, we won't go too much into it, but just research it. Eating out your separate bowls, separate dishes, everything prepared separate.
Yeah, and food prepared ourselves. But to come back to the serious of it and the practicality once again of Sikhi, everything Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj has given us as Singhs and Kaurs is for our benefit. It's for our physical well-being, it's for our spiritual well-being, and you'll see that today, in this day and age, definitely. So with things that you mentioned there, Bibik, yes, it is the idea of preparing your own food. Ideally, if you are already Amritari, from another Amritari Gursikh, whether that's yourself, there might be someone in your family, or someone that you're close to who you eat from, right? The other part of Suchum is, people used to, find it funny when they see it on TV or in pictures, Singhs or Singniya, they cover their mouth with a parna or hazuriya. So that's as you'll see them draped over their shoulders, they'll have that material which they wrap around their face, and they do that when they're reading Bart. So
or
first
giving
of all,
prashad out.
and prashad as well. So when you're doing Bart, it's so that your jute, your spit from your mouth, those little particles don't go on Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, because that's whose respect and sacredity, sanctity we want to keep the utmost. And then also it's for the other Sangat members, so people you're going to greet throughout the day when you're giving prasad out, improves hygiene once again. Also the way we give prasad and langar. I'm sure a lot of the listeners here have been to Harmandir Sahib and other Itihasic historic Gurukars in India, and you notice there when you sit for langar, the first thing, and this is Puratan as it used to be when Guru Sahib Ji were around in the physical form as well, like Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj through to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. So the Sangat would arrive first, you seat first, so you sit in lines, and then the towels are placed there, so you don't actually touch anything. You don't touch any of the utensils yourself, because again, you might not have, or how are you going to control so many thousands of people washing their hands, right? So you come, you sit down, your towels are there, then the food is poured onto your towel, again, a lot of the time without contact. And you're right there, a few people have mimicked those kind of ideologies and the practicality of it. But you see today now, the practicality of that is at the utmost. It'll keep the utmost hygiene. And I think we're reverting to that now with some of these protocols in place and the guidance from Sikh Council, that we're going to start doing that again in langar halls. Whereas I think we've gone more, in my eyes, this is just my personal opinion, it's become a bit lazy and lackadaisical in terms of the way we're serving langar at some of the Gurukars. It's become like a canteen or cafeteria, like for school dinners. You line up, you're holding your trays, you're talking to each other, where you're in contact with each other all that whole time, whether you washed your hands or not, no one's really checked. You've come in, then some people are either self-serving or the person serving them is touching their towel again, they're touching the next. A lot of contamination there, right? And we see today why that's so important to avoid that. So I believe some of the protocols that have been put in place, they're joining us back with the practical measures of Suchum.
And these are hundreds of years ago, these were put in place.
That Maharaj has always given us and blessed us with.
Definitely. I mean, Baji Jas, so I just want to finish off with yourself here. And, just as a roundup on everything we've discussed on the seva, I'm looking after the elderly and taking care and putting things into measure. For right now, all the information that we have got at the moment, we're not in lockdown. We are just, a lot of the work has been cancelled, and a lot of the elderly have been told to self-isolate. At this moment in time, to the community, to the Sangata, what from your profession, what can you advise?
Yeah, so I don't want to make light of the situation, because it's a very, very serious situation that we're in. But use this as an opportunity. I know Baji mentioned earlier as well about our routines, etc., that we're doing. Don't waste this opportunity. A lot of my friends, they've all subscribed to Netflix, and they're going to watch this series, they're going to watch that series, and they're going to watch something on Amazon and all the rest of it. I think, what a waste of time. What a waste of time. And I had one friend who's just saying, and he said, you know what I'm going to do? I guess I'm going to deal with myself. So he goes, if I'm watching a series, I'll watch 2 episodes, and then I might put a Japanese sub in there just as a break. But you understand, don't waste this time.
I mean, there's loads of, sorry, just to add to that, there's loads of, there's Sikh to Inspire, there's Basics of Sikhi. There's so many videos out there on SoundCloud, on all the rest of the materials, on all the other platforms. There's so much out there now, including this and other things like this, that you can listen to and you could tune into. Absolutely.
So make the most of your time. Yesterday I was watching the news and they said about families, because families are spending so much time together, and it's a bit of a funny thing really, they think the divorce rate's going to go higher. We need to make sure, use this opportunity. If we're staying at home, we need to make sure we incorporate Sikhi into that. And if there's people out there that are listening to this and they're like me, they're at absolute ground zero, and let's say they have no knowledge, what a great opportunity to learn. And learn with their children, with their spouses, with their grandparents, and actually take this opportunity to, from the ground, learn as a family, and maybe incorporate small things, whether it's, let's come together in the evening, do 10 minutes of Simran as a family together.
So, I mean, your kids are off now, because all the kids are going off now, so it's for yourself as well, like you're saying, it's a good opportunity. There's so much material out there for the kids as well, that you can hold a little half an hour, 45-minute, hour kind of classroom at school, at home, or a little hour into Sikhi. That opportunity is there now, because the kids are off, the parents are off, a lot of people are off.
Absolutely. So me and my wife, we've made a little routine for the kids for next week. And in that routine that we've made, there's going to be a little bit of learning, etc. But we've incorporated Sikhi into it. So my daughter and my son, when they get up, making sure that they do their part, etc. And as a family, when I get home in the evening, making sure we sit down together and just introducing them as well to Sikhi. And what we're seeing this as an opportunity, really. So whether it's my parents, everyone comes around and we sit down together. We're using this as an opportunity, as a learning tool, really, because if we think about how when we send our kids to school, they're at school most of the day. They're out of our control. The things that they learn, they pick up, the habits, the sankat that they're in is out of our control. For once, they're in our control, and we can actually pass on the message that we want to. Now, we can either let the TV educate them. We can set them in front of cartoons, let them watch YouTube, etc., or we can actually pass on some wisdom to them. And it's important. There's academic wisdom that we can say, oh, read this book, read that book. But now we can actually instill, a bit of streetwiseness, a bit of wisdom into them. Life experiences, perfect word, yeah. Life experiences into them.
I mean, all I can finish off with is saying to all the Sangata, all those listening, like Baji said, thank you for coming down today, Jas, is don't have any regrets. Do as much seva as you can. Serve your family, serve your community, serve your guru, and stay safe. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.